halfway through this North Indian derby. It's poised fascinatingly with the score that have been put on by Delhi after they were put into bat by Mayank Agarwal, 159 for 7, which with their power-packed batting lineup in a crucial fixture, we were thinking maybe 170, 180. It wasn't to be. Mitchell Marsh, 63 of 48. Sarfraz Khan really kick-started the innings with 32 of 16. The name you don't see on that list, in fact, you won't see in any list there, is David Warner. First ball duck, worst possible start from Delhi. They recovered from that to get a halfway decent total, but with the record at the stadium in terms of totals of that nature chased down, it wouldn't be considered halfway decent. Let's see what the panel on Cricbuzz Live thinks of it. Lisa Sthalekar, Joy Bhattacharjya. Lisa, we were just getting a few stats in there. Only once has a total under 160 been defended, and that too was a dramatic Andre Russell finish, Gujarat Kolkata.
Yeah, and it was a day game as well, so it hasn't happened at night. You look at how much the ball turned. Liam Livingstone, exceptional with the ball. That's an absolute bonus for him to pick up 3 for 27, and big names as well. You've got David Warner, Rishabh Pant, and Rovman Powell. So that was really good. The fact that David Warner went early, it was good to see Sarfraz Khan there and playing all of his tricky shots. But just after that 10-over mark where they kind of lost a little bit of momentum, Mitch Marsh only faced, I think, 10 or 11 deliveries in the next 5, and they lost 3 wickets during that phase. So that may have cost them a little bit. It's going to be a tough pitch to chase down these runs, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the more I look at that scorecard, it's really only 2 batsmen, Mitchell Marsh and the cameo from Sarfraz up front. Lalit is over 100, but 24 of 21 is not something when you're really trying to put runs on the board, Joy.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not an easy pitch to bat on. And I'm beginning to understand, I think, why the Delhi team batted the way they did, because there are a lot of questions in all our heads saying that why is that batting order changed? When you have somebody like a Rishabh Pant who can come in at number 4, why are you sending Lalit Yadav, who's usually batting at number 6 for them? And clearly, it seems to be that they were fearing that this pitch would also explains a little bit of why Sarfraz went so hard when all of us were thinking that perhaps he could have just had a little bit more shot selection. You're scoring at 200. Why are you taking such unnecessary risk? Clearly, they thought this pitch is really going to slow down very fast. And that definitely happened. And, it's interesting. So they managed to they tried to take advantage of it. Of course, it didn't turn out because Rishabh Pant got stumped. Rovman Powell got out. So whatever advantage they had in trying to play that way didn't work at all. And it took a little bit of, Mitch Marsh and a little bit of Aksar at the end to get them to where they are. But this is by no means, it's not a closed affair as well. I think match is definitely open still.
Now, we talked earlier about the batting order with RP1 and RP2. I'm going to come to Lisa and ask you, was this move a brainchild of RP3? There is, of course, Rishabh Pant, there's Rovman Powell, and there's Ricky Ponting.
Ricky Ponting, yes. I knew where you were going. Must have been to get Lalit up there. I was interested because once they almost saw that it was starting to turn, I thought they'd probably slide Rovman Powell down to face almost Ashdeep and also Kahisa Rabada. So I thought they might use that. We saw him early on in the IPL struggle against spin. Then, the pitches weren't turning as much and he looked all right and they found his groove. It was an interesting order. And we're starting to see a lot of teams just muck around slightly. And it might be matchups and it might be about pitch conditions.
But what about the man who bowled the first ball of the innings and got rid of David Warner? 3 huge wickets. When you can pick up Warner and Pant and Powell, and you've not been bowling regularly, must be the first time he's bowled 4 overs in this tournament. And yet, Joy, we know that Liam Livingstone is someone who can contribute with the ball, perfectly set up for him to be the second half of the tournament bowler.
Absolutely. And that's really vital. And you know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of, Sachin Tendulkar in his heyday when he used to come in. He's right arm something. He'll bowl he'll bowl seam up if he needs to be, gentle seam ups. He could, bowl the leg spinner, bowl the off spinner. So he can literally pick. And what's interesting about Livingstone is when you change between an off spinner and a leg spin, to land it perfectly on a leg spin is really difficult. I mean, Lisa will know much more about this than me. He was accurate. He was not bad at all. He was there in the stumps. He got his lengths right. And when he went wide to Rishabh Pant, I mean, he beat Rishabh Pant on the flight twice. The first time Rishabh Pant goes through the stroke and it hits. The second time he's stranded halfway down the crease.
As a pure spinner, Lisa, I mean, it cannot be an easy skill to be able to oscillate between finger spin and a bit of wrist spin that Livingston does.
Yeah, I mean, we all muck around. Everyone mucks around in the nets, don't they? You get to a training session and people are literally going, oh, yeah, I can roll my fingers over. Yeah, I'll bowl a leggy. But to do it in T20 IPL with everything going on and then be able to execute, and you could tell, like even in his last over, the last delivery, you knew he was trying to just get out of the over really quickly. So he tries to fire it in, miss slightly, but not by much. So it means that, you know, he's able to think about what he needs to do, where he thinks he's going to trouble the batters, potentially just get him off strike or potentially pick up a wicket. And then he's able to execute. That is great to have. He's a huge asset. He's a huge X factor because he does that. And then we haven't even spoken about his batting.
Yeah, that's coming up in the second half. But in terms of captaincy, I mean, we can go back to the RP factor again. Rovman Powell has been a revelation in the second part of the tournament for Delhi. But the captain, Joy, looking at the scenario, looking at where things were, Rishabh Pant was obviously livid with himself for jumping out to Liam Livingstone at the time he did.
True, absolutely. Because I feel that he also knows that, you know, if there were bowlers, people to hit spin, it's him and Aksar. They were the two guys they knew could go after the spinners. And he just must have been cursing himself because had he got a start, had he been there, the spinners could not have dominated that much. Having said that, I feel perhaps Punjab also mixed a trick. Harpreet's last over, that 17th over, they had a great opportunity. It went for 11. They had a great opportunity to bring Rabada in there. And for a bowler like Rabada not to complete his quota, given that he's probably the most successful death overs fast bowler in the history of the game, is something that I didn't understand. Other than that, I think they were pretty decent on the field and well captained as well.
Yeah, interesting one. I mean, I glanced at this at the Punjab bowling lineup. It didn't occur to me at the point, but good point made by Joy about Rabada not completing his 4. You can go to Rishi Dhawan and say, okay, 1 + 3 or 1 + 4, even with Brar or whatever. But Rabada has to bowl 4.
Yeah, I think there's certain players within your side that are bankers. And what I mean by that is you can bank on them to bowl their 4 overs. You can bank on them to get off to a good start. They're the ones that are the consistent performers. And he's been able to do it over a period of time now for IPL. We put up the stats of how well he bowls in the death as well. He's picked up 9 wickets now, 10 wickets in that phase. So to miss out on 1 over may cost him. I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see. But yeah, he's one guy that needs to bowl his 4.
Yeah, certainly does. But overall, you'd probably have to say job well done. But you know, if we look at Lalit Yadav and just try and assess his performances, I think if we go back to game number 1, that was where it was one of the contributions from him, along with Shardul and Aksar, where they took them to an unlikely victory when everything else was falling apart. How would you assess Lalit Yadav's season so far, Joy?
Look, I think, you know, it's very difficult, and this is what they call the sophomore curse. That's first year you do really well, you know, you come out, you surprise everyone. Next year, everyone has a tape on you. Everyone knows where to bowl to you. It's that much more tough. And I think he's going through a little bit of that. And, you know, he's a good player. I mean, my only problem is that they take him because he can bowl those couple of overs of off spin as well. He gives them a little bit of variety on the field and he bats as well. But I feel if Prithvi Shaw comes back and you have 2 gun batsmen like Prithvi Shaw and Sarfraz out there, I would give both of them a chance, really, in terms of pure talent, in terms of the upside of what they can give me as match winners. I'd give both of them a chance.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, we tend to use the term bits and pieces all-rounder from time to time. There are people, of course, who have taken it in the wrong way when it's been used out of context. But Lalit Yadav probably can be classified as that, meaning no disrespect to him.
No, I mean, and to be honest, in T20 cricket, you want to be able to contribute all 3 facets. So if you can bowl a few overs, and I guess that's where the bits and pieces comes into it, a gun fielder and you can score runs, then you are a huge asset. And they may continue to keep him in, with one more round match before they potentially go to the playoffs, because the pitches are starting to turn. That's maybe the only reason why you would keep him in. And I guess it will depend how he actually bowls in the second innings and what impact he has. But yeah, you kind of like, and I know in Australia, certain coaches love having these all-rounders that you can turn to for some overs. You can turn to bat up the order or down and finish the inning. So that's the kind of bits and pieces type tag, I guess, or that's how we take it in Australia.
But in terms of what this game means, if you go back to the 115 all out, the first game between these two, the reverse fixture, Punjab 115 all out, it came at a time in the tournament, well, Punjab would look at it as a blip. We just come back in the next game. Now we've reached a do or die stage, Joy. Everything on the line in terms of this run chase. How much more difficult will 160 look with the way the points table is right now? You lose, you're pretty much out of the race. There are slim possibilities if you keep your net run rate healthy. If you win, it's in your hands to be in the mix.
Yeah, this is a big one. And that's the important thing. And now what's going to be interesting is that they also feel, Sarfraz came off and said that this pitch is a bit slow to bat on, so you need to score in the first 6. How the first 6 go is going to be so much determine how this game is going to go, because really, do they go very hard? And Punjab, of course, plays only one way. So far, that's the only way they played throughout this tournament. But do they take unnecessary risks? What happens if those first 6 they get off at 60-65? Well, this game could be over, but it'd be interesting to see where they go.
And Delhi, Lisa, will know that they're going to come hard. They've found the formula in terms of batting order. Johnny Bairstow up the order with Shikhar Dhawan. Liam Livingstone won't be too far behind. Neither will Bhanuka Rajapaksa. Jitesh Sharma can hit it. And of course, Mayank Agarwal will have his pads on to come in whenever he deems fit. So Delhi will know, and they'll have to do a few maybe out-of-the-box moves like a Liam Livingstone.
Well, they could actually, and why not? They've got, potentially 12 overs of spin available to them. So how they use it will be interesting. Lalit Yadav, obviously, Akshar Patel and Kuldeep Yadav. And we're going to see Khalil Ahmed as well back after being injured. So, it's a good bowling attack. I have a feeling Johnny Bairstow will play the same way as he always plays. He'll be the more aggressor. Shikhar Dhawan, if it's in his zone, he'll go. But I think he'll be the one that tries to bat all the way through the innings and have the bigger hitters go around him potentially. But Shikhar's innings is going to be really crucial.
It certainly will be. It is Khalil Ahmed with over number 1, blue corner against the red corner. Pick a color, gentleman, lady, Joy, blue or red at this stage.
I'm going red.
All right. Score to be chased down, 160. Only once has it been defended, a total of this nature at this ground. Lisa, blue, red.
Just to make it interesting, let's go blue.
All righty, let's go blue. There's a distinct possibility it could all get derailed because they play only one way. Yes, Bairstow's in form. Yes, Livingston can do magical things, but blue can still happen if they pick up a few wickets, because this team can go really hard. This team can also implode. Well, I'm not going to sit on the fence. I'm going to actually lean towards red. I just have a feeling that, yes, they could implode, but they've got enough depth. If one doesn't do it, somebody else might. So just a few cameos put together. If it was 190, not a chance. 160, perhaps. That's all we have on Cricbuzz Live. We will, of course, keep our date with the 10th over. That's called Cricbuzz Combox. We'll see you then. For now, from Joy, Lisa, and myself, that's all we have.